What is going now, guys? TalkNorwichCity City here, back for another week of the TNC podcast. And this week we do have a guest, so you haven't got to just put up with me and Chris this week.
Thank God for
Mr. Robin
that,
Sainty is here. Robin, it is a pleasure to have you on board.
Always a pleasure, chaps.
And hopefully you will provide some entertainment.
I'll try. I'll do some juggling, if nothing else.
I've got some juggling balls, actually. If you want me to.
No.
So, for the people who don't know you, who are you? What do you do? And why are you here?
I have no idea. I'm chairman of the Canaries Trust, and I write for the EVP on a Saturday. So,
have you got your blue tick yet, Robin?
I haven't got my blue tick, unlike some people at this table.
I will give you tips afterwards. So, Canaries Trust, I mean, let's get that sort of sorted straight away. It's been quite a rise throughout the past kind of season, hasn't it? And the Canaries Trust has been about for a while, but it seems like the upward slope is here. Yeah,
I mean, I'll be quite honest. I've been involved with the Canaries Trust now for, I suppose, the best part of 4 years. I've been chairman for a couple. I think 4 years ago it had no real communication with the fans, which was daft. There were some very worthy people involved with it, but basically they'd have a meeting every month and discuss things, and then everything would move on to the next month, and not a great deal really happened. I came from a background of being involved with NISA, which then became INCSC, the Independent Norwich City Sports Club, which was much more active in terms of what it did, and certainly in terms of communicating with its members. So basically what we've tried to do over the last couple of years is to make the trust fit for purpose, really.
I mean, to interject there, for the sort of younger fans watching who might not know what the Canaries Trust is, what is the kind of the main objective of what you're trying to achieve?
Well, fundamentally, the Canaries Trust is a non-profit cooperative organisation, and we raise money in a variety of ways, mostly through the efforts of the board members, and we use that money to buy shares in Norwich City, which are then held in trust in perpetuity for the fans. And we've now reached a stage where we're the 14th, and therefore by extension the fans are the 14th largest shareholder in the club, and we've got various transactions on the go at the moment, and we hope within the next year we'll get to 13th and so on.
So in terms of kind of 14th largest shareholder, how does that kind of relate to other clubs? Are there other clubs who have a large kind of fan shareholding, or are there clubs who are sort of majorly owned by fans, or how does it work? How do we relate to other teams?
Well, all clubs are different. I mean, if you take Swansea City, there is a massive fan ownership at Swansea City, to the point that there is actually a fan representative on the board. That's relatively unusual in the clubs in the higher divisions. To be honest, we don't really compare ourselves to anybody else, because their clubs are different to ours. What we're interested in really is making sure that the fans have a large enough shareholding to make sure that they will always have a voice. And the other side of what we do, which is something which we've tried to develop over the last couple of years, is to get much more involved in wider footballing issues. We're heavily involved with the Football Supporters Federation, Supporters Direct. We've done work on safe standing, ticketing prices. We were involved in the 20's Plenty
Go on, Robin.
protests, which obviously resulted in quite a good result for Premier League teams, at least.
Yeah, I ended up paying £22 for my ticket to Millwall.
But we also speak to the club on a regular basis on all sorts of issues. I mean, for example, access to tickets, ticket prices, anything that's relevant to fans. We're not going to go and talk to the club about the price of burgers, but sort of issues of governance are very much within our remit.
Well, I think the distribution of pucker pies in the Barclays stand last year was poor, so if you can raise that at the next meeting, that'd very much appreciate it. But I mean, Chris, we mentioned a few weeks ago, didn't we, about the whole, first of all, it was the Ipswich tickets. Was that kind of done fairly. Then it was the Arsenal tickets. It's important that we do have a voice at the club, and that voice remains, because as well as a sort of financial standpoint, there are a lot of issues that people need help with in terms of raising that subject.
To be honest with you, kudos to Robin and co, because from my perspective, there wasn't really a profile for the trust for many, many years, and I think that now that with the boom of social media, I think that they've jumped on it quite effectively. I would recommend that you all go and follow the Canaries Trust on Twitter. What's your tag? Let's plug that.
On Twitter, it's at Canaries Trust.
Plug. There you go. Go and follow it, guys. Back it.
Back it.
Just back it.
Let's get away from that. The season so far, it's been an up and down one, hasn't it, to say the least. We're currently sitting here in the international break on a fairly good wave. The last international break, when me and Chris were sitting here, we were down. We were very down.
Therapy session, I believe.
That was the therapy session.
Yeah.
It was indeed.
Did you watch the therapy session, by the way?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, you're the kind of guy that doesn't really need it. You just crack on, don't you?
Well, that's true, yeah.
But yeah, we're sitting now here in a good place, aren't we?
Yeah,
we think.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the start of the season was difficult. It was always going to be difficult. I mean, wearing my sort of columnist hat, at the start of the season, I kept saying, look, we've got to be patient. Things aren't very good, but it's going to get better, and it has. But we're not there yet. The stage we're at, I think, at the moment is that we've got a team that is genuinely fit for the Championship, and I don't think we had that last season.
In what way?
In terms of their attitude as much as anything else.
They're a team rather than a bunch of collective individuals that are talented.
Yeah, exactly. And
talented used very loosely, I think.
And it's all for one and one for all, to chuck a cliche into the mix. We've got it right defensively. The last run of games has shown that the defensive solidity is there. What we've now got to do is to find a way of being more creative going forward. If we can do that, we're going to have a really good season, and we're going to be, in the playoffs.
We've spoken about this kind of transition because we've kind of picked the worst away games to go to. It was Villa, and then I think it was the following week it was Millwall, and we were kind of like, right, scrap this, we're not doing away games, and then we've won every one since, I think. And what we saw at them two games was a defence that was just all over the place, and since then, as Robin alluded to there, it looks like we've got that defensive fixed out. How have we? I know Close has come back in, but it's not all down to him. What's changed since them games to now, and how do we continue that? Because some people were saying, well, Farke has got a plan A, has he got the plan B? Has he?
I actually think it is having a plan A. I think if you look at recent seasons of late that have gone by, we've chopped and changed the defence on numerous occasions. So we'd lose 4-0, but then we'd change it all. Or we'd lose 2-0 or even 1-0 and we'd change it all. We'd change 2 or 3 players. Now, Farke has kept it very consistent. Obviously, he's brought Timmy K in. He's been absolutely amazing. Well done again, Timmy, because I did slag you off. But no, he deserves it. And I think that now we've got this solid defence, as Robin's quite rightly said. It's just about being more potent up front, which surprises me because the amount of resource that we've got there, and at the start of the season I was like, here we go. We've got Wes, we've got Pritchard, we've got Maddison, we've got Oliveira. You've got all of these players that can literally tear teams apart. But I don't think it's necessarily being more creative in front of goal. I think it's actually about that we need to break teams down, because we need to understand that teams will park the bus. And we've never really sussed that in the Championship, have we, Robin?
That's the next step. We know we can take teams on the break away from home. You can't do that at home. At home, you have to make the run. Teams are going to sit back in the way that we've sat back against Reading, Sheffield United, Middlesbrough. So the next few games, because we've got 3 out of the next 4 games at home, are going to be quite telling. And if we get that right, but just to pick up on one thing with the defensive angle. I think there are a number of reasons why we've improved. Obviously, Tim Close we've talked about. I think one of the biggest things is the change in the midfield shape. The fact that we've gone with 2 defensive midfield players. but also the fact that the players have now got to grips with zonal marking, because zonal marking was a massive Achilles heel earlier in the season at Millwall. The fourth goal where the lad makes a 20-yard unchallenged run and sticks it in the net. So that's improved. But picking up on what Chris was saying, we have chopped and changed the defence in the past, and we've been more consistent. But what's interesting this year is that obviously we lost Stiepermann to injury, and everybody was thinking, that's going to cause a problem, because husband.
We were praying. We were saying our prayers, Robin.
Husband hadn't torn up any trees in the early part of the season, but I think that it's a sign that the system is ingrained.
Yeah.
When you can bring a player in and you don't lose a beat, and we didn't, because husband came in and did a very, very good job. And to be honest, if Stiepermann's fit on Saturday, I'd be a bit disappointed for husband if he came straight back in.
We were actually discussing on last week's podcast, Robin, about the fact that if you're a Norwich player now, you're not going to be actually too disappointed to be on the bench, because it seems to be more of a collective. It seems to be like we're all in this together. And Webber was commenting, at the Norwich City Business Conference on Wednesday, just been, and saying, with the Josh Murphy saga, right, and how as soon as Josh Murphy did what he did, of course the club disciplined Josh, but actually the players went, "What are you doing, Josh? Come on, this is real. This is the real deal. Do you want it or not?" And I think to get that attitude from the players this early doors shows the fact that they are all in it as a massive bunch, and I don't think they're going to be too disappointed that they're out of the team for one game, because they understand they've got a rest. You've got players like Tete in there, he's got a rest. Wes, he's got a rest. And let's not kid ourselves, Maddison, he can't play every single game this season. He's going to have to rest. So look, I think it's just very, very exciting. I just hope that we beat this home voodoo against quite a negative team. It is a case of along come Norwich, because Hull, what's their record like at the moment?
I think it was poor, and then they just beat Birmingham 6-1.
Yeah, but Birmingham, we spoke about that last week, Jack.
Hull haven't won an away game since about February, I think.
Oh, please don't say that.
Yeah, but Middlesbrough, they hadn't lost at home for 8 years. And,
I know.
But I'm very much getting carried away a little bit, but you do look back at the previous two games. The win over Reading was a piece of quality from Maddison. The win against Middlesbrough was a piece of quality from Maddison. It's them little moments, isn't it, that win you games. And you look back at the games against Burton, etc. If we would have had that piece of quality, we could have quite easily run away with it. So it's them fine margins that have swung our way, but who knows if they'll keep going that way.
I've got a request, and it's a request of Robin. Okay, so me and you bang on about Maddison every single week, how magic he is, but I'd quite like to hear from a very, very sensible, experienced head, how good is James Maddison? How good is James Maddison?
He's very good. He's very good. He's the real deal. There's no question about that. But what I would say is that he's a young player, and he won't maintain that level consistently throughout the season. He's going to have peaks and troughs. But yeah, he's a tremendous player, and I'm really excited about how he and Pritchard could work together. Because,
don't even start me on that, Robin, please.
To me, Pritchard is absolutely key to what happens this season, because what we haven't got at the moment, and it's no disrespect to Maddison, Wes, Mario Vrancic, anybody, what we haven't got is a midfielder who can combine the ability to play a killer pass and score goals on a regular basis from anywhere. Maddison, he's had a great free kick and he's had a great strike, but he's not known
naturally confident and edgy
as a goal scorer. But Pritchard he gives you another dimension.
I think the massive thing for me, which I'm really excited about in terms of Pritchard, is, and I don't want to criticise Josh too much, but I think a really poor part of our game at the moment is our delivery. I think it's really bad, and I think everyone will agree with that. It is really bad. I think that it's an area that we need to improve. It's not just delivery. I think our final ball everywhere across the park. I think we are always trying to walk it into the net. We've done that season on season. That's why I love Nelson Oliveira, because he's not afraid to have a shot outside of the box, force a save from the keeper early doors. That's exactly what Robin's saying about when you're at home, get on the front foot, force a save straight away, get the corner, and then the delivery. I still think we've got some area to improve.
I think the difference, and I think the reason I was slightly hesitant when you were banging on the Maddison drum so heavily before the season started, is
I'm still banging hard, Jack.
You definitely are. I wasn't quite sure if he had that maturity to cut it in the Championship, but the way that Maddison holds the ball and shields it in his awareness, it's the closest thing I've seen to Wes in terms of he just knows where players are.
Last week you described him as the closest thing to Messi.
Well, he moves like Messi in a way.
What's your thoughts on that, Robin? Do you think Jack's getting a bit ahead of himself there?
The way he moves the ball, his low centre of gravity. I like it a lot. Hull coming up this weekend. I suppose that's another massive game because Hull, at the start of the season, were probably favourites to get into the top six. Yeah. So this is another opportunity to keep it going. It's a different sort of game in terms of the narrative of it. We're not going away from home.
They've lost a lot of key players, though, right?
Yeah, they're not a great side, but they're still going to be a decent challenger.
They've lost that chap in defence that sounds like you're grogging, El Ahmadi. He's not there anymore.
He's at Villa.
He's at Villa. They've stolen him. Snoddy's not there anymore, although he probably wishes he is. So yeah, I think for me, I think we definitely turn them over.
To be honest, I think we've reached the stage now where the level of performance is such that we shouldn't really be worrying who we're playing against at home. We should be making Carrow Road an absolutely impregnable fortress.
Said it time after time. I honestly think, I don't care who we play against at home this season, we are good enough to beat anyone at home this season, and not just draw, beat them. That's why when you draw to Burton, it's like, oh my god, because we're just so much better. That's not being arrogant. It's just realistic. Our team is so good.
In terms of looking at the team, obviously Cameron Jerome's come in, and since Oliveira's been injured and done a very admirable job in them away games, does he keep his starting place even though Nelson is 99% going to be fit? Or what do you do? Do you change, like you were saying about Husband as well? Does Stiepermann come back in, or do you change? Do you keep with the winning formula?
You're comfortable with Husband?
I think it's horses for courses. Personally, I would keep Husband, but I would probably start Oliveira.
Keep Husband then.
You know what? I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to give Husband another go.
It's interesting on that whole debate about bringing a player in and it not really changing. I look back at Harrison Reed. I think he was probably our best player for the first few games. I think Tete's come in.
I think we all thought in the early part of the season that Reed was going to be a massive player, and in fairness, he's done nothing wrong. But you know, the shape has changed, and clearly Farker has felt that Tete and Tribal are the best combination. But you know, having said that, you can understand why, because one of the great things about Reed that impressed me in pre-season and at the start of the season was his mobility, the fact he could get around the pitch. But he doesn't get around the pitch any better than Tribal. I mean, you know, Tribal is just
we love Tribal.
Unreal. He's not human, is he, that man?
He's not. No, he's
what do you reckon he has for breakfast, honestly?
About 10.
How many
wheats?
Batteries?
Yeah.
Mad. I think the thing you have to appreciate with this team is, and Webber said it, is that when you've got like Harrison Reed hasn't actually played that much professional football. No. Angus Gunn has only just started making his first professional appearances, and he's smashing it. Yeah. You've got Maddison, so ridiculously fresh to the scene. So, in a way, let's just accept the fact that there's gonna be loads of chops and changes, and let's just ride the waves. It's exciting.
Ride the waves. Right, obviously you're watching a Norwich City podcast, but let's talk about Lynn Town, because you are here for your non-league footballing fix. But Grant Holt and Simon Lappin over to the Linnets.
He kept that quiet, didn't
Lappin was here a few weeks ago.
He was really coy though, wasn't he? He was always hiding something. I could just tell.
And that's what it was. Great to see them back in football.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And it's a massive coup for Lynn as well.
Holty, do you think he can play at a high level than Lynn?
Yeah, definitely.
Why has he gone there?
I think he's chosen I think he's now gone, I need to look after my family. Family are very settled in Norfolk. You know what? It makes me smile. It makes me super happy, and I think it's a great testimony to the club And I think it says absolutely everything about this city and how, this utter shite about the fact that, players don't want to come to Norwich because it's out of the way and it's not nice and there's nothing to do. If you've got a family, there's no better place in England. Safest place in the UK crime rate, Jack. You can't deny those facts, right? Grant Holt, he needs to settle down with his family. They're finally settled. And, why not? Why not play for Kings Lynn and have a laugh, roll around, pull your shirt up and slap your belly, to some non-league...
Are you saying that non-league footballers simply having a laugh and rolling around? Is that what you're saying?
Quite possibly, yeah. I think they have more of a laugh than the professional game, yeah.
I mean, you've had dealings with sort of non-league clubs and Kings Lynn as well in the past. How big is this going to be for them? Solely getting away from
ticket sales.
Well, everything
massive.
Off the pitch as well as on the pitch.
It's going to be massive, and I think the great thing is that they've got two lads there who are going to help the youngsters, and that would be a big factor as well. But I watched the interviews that Michael Bailey did with them both this morning, and they're both chomping at the bit to get back out on the pitch, and I think they'll bring an awful lot to the club. But if you think playing Southern League Premier gives you an easy life, you're wrong. I've played Southern League Premier, and it's a nightmare. Because
what position
I played up front.
Did you?
What year did you play in that, Robin?
That would be about
I'm not going to say it.
86, 87. I think I was at Lynn, but a long time ago, a very long time ago.
What was your goal scoring ratio like, and will it be better than Holly's? Will be.
It won't be as good as Holly's. No. But the point I was going to make is that there's an awful lot of travelling involved. I mean, I can remember playing at Gosport, and we left the walks at 7 o'clock in the morning and got back at 11 o'clock at night. It's not just tootling down the road and chucking your kit on.
Right, let's get into some Twitter questions. So Matt Gregory, who always sends his questions in.
Go on, Matt.
Asks, did Robin go to any of the away games on our European run in 1993?
No, I didn't. Ooh. I didn't, because at the time I didn't get to see City a great deal because I was managing. So
that's a poor excuse.
It's a terrible excuse, but there you go.
Such a good excuse.
It tended to be midweek games only. I did get to the home legs against Bayern and Inter.
Oh, that'll do. That'll do.
What's going on there?
Studio's not in good nick.
I'd have to say that the night against Inter was the loudest I've ever heard at Carrow Road. It was unbelievable.
I'm so jealous. It's unbelievable.
The Barclay was rocking. It was amazing. Yeah.
I wish I was there for them. Will Burgess, why do Ireland continue not to pick Wes Hoolahan in a must-win game?
They picked him in the last game.
Did they?
Yep, he started.
Yeah, I was going to say he started on
well, Will, there's your answer. They do pick him now. Lewis Nicholson, which new signings did you expect to play the biggest role, and have you been surprised with the players that have played the biggest role?
I think we've touched upon it with Reid for me, personally. Don't know about you, Robin?
Yeah, I expected Reid to be big.
Still probably will be. Let's not rule him out, by the way.
I expected more from Franke.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, he came with a decent pedigree.
Yeah, bigger fee as well.
Franchik, I thought, started poorly again. He probably had one of the highest profiles of the players coming in. Having played in the Bundesliga last season, I thought he struggled to get to grips with English football to start with, but I think he is starting to get there. It's unfortunate he picked up the injury. But
I mean, in terms of Franke, though, do you not think it's a bit harsh because he hasn't really had a massive run of games to kind of prove his worth, has he? And he was playing in a defence that was also not playing that great of a standard.
It's just Christmas again, Jack. It's just Christmas. That's my answer to everything. Christmas.
Just wait till Christmas.
Wait till Christmas with all of these players. You've got to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not writing him off, and I think he will come back and do a job at some point. He'll almost certainly need to, because we'll pick up injuries and suspensions. But
Ken asks, how or when did Robin know about the signings of Holt and Lappin? Have you been sitting on this secret for weeks?
I knew back in August that Cully was trying to sign them.
Yeah.
Because there's a chap at Lynn who used to play for me when I was managing, who messaged me and and told me in August that they were trying to sign him, but obviously it all went quiet, and I thought that probably they'd binned him off, but clearly not.
And Chris, you'll remember this man from last week. It's Wilmots Limited, who has also offered
the business.
If you ever need your lawn cut, he will do it for you.
No,
he tweeted us. He put, "Hi lads, it's Chris the groundsman here. Holt and Lappin going to Kings Lynn. Should that mean that Basong and Malumbu also go, or is that a level too high for them?"
Definitely too high.
Well, Basong's still running around Helston, isn't he?
I can't believe your story. You know what? I don't believe that until you get photographic evidence.
I did have proof.
That's rubbish, Jack. I'm sorry. You must have been intoxicated again.
No. So Robin, the story is, I got a Snapchat of someone. He'd just woken up. He'd opened his curtains, and Sebastian Basong was doing like time trials up
He's
and down his
DJing
road.
in London, Jack. This is all wrong.
What's happened to Malumbu though? Is he still a thing?
Oh wait, hashtag fire Malumbu.
Yeah.
I think we need to probably get this going. I'm a bit concerned for his welfare. Really.
Do you have any knowledge of Malumbu's whereabouts?
Absolutely none. No, he doesn't report to me, unfortunately.
Right, I haven't actually pre-read these questions.
But he's probably injured.
Yeah, just from day-to-day activities. If the Lord scores a 90th minute winner, as he's not played them before at Ipswich.
Oh my God!
Will you? This is for you, Chris. Will you wear them lucky pants of yours on the podcast after that game?
No. Well, obviously it's very, very likely that will happen.
Yeah.
So no. However, I will now make the second promise. If husband scores the winner against Ipswich, I will wear the lucky pants on my head for the podcast after Ipswich.
If husband scores.
Very specifically, if husband scores the winner. You heard it here first.
Are you going to wear the lucky pants for the Ipswich game? To the game?
Oh God, no.
No?
We're already going camouflage, aren't we, Jack?
Yeah, we're not. Luke Speck with a slightly pessimistic question here. So just to bring the tone down slightly, are you worried that next season we'll have to probably sell all of our best players?
No. I don't think there's any question if we don't go up this season, we will have to sell one or two players we might not want to sell. But it's not going to be a fire sale.
Why do you not think that?
Because, having spoken to people at the club, Steve Stone and what have you, I know that there is a recognition that we would have to sell some players, but they're not just going to roll over and say, okay, we're just going to be we're going to be a second-rate side. There is a plan in place. Stuart Webber articulated it very, very well in his interviews, I thought, last week. There is a plan in place for if we go up, and there's a plan in place for if we don't go up. They don't just decide policy on the spur of the moment.
I think it's the reality of the situation, isn't it? I think anyone that thinks we're going to be able to keep hold of the likes of Alex Pritchard if we don't go up, not really in the real world, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Pritchard, I don't know about actually.
He's a Premier League player, Robin.
He is, but given that he's going to have half this season out.
But he's Pritchard, Robin.
Well, yeah, he is, but I would have said Closer is the obvious one that they would probably cash in on. In the summer.
I sold him to Stoke on FIFA 18 for 8 million. First
close.
Yeah. Got some money in for the club.
Wow.
Random fact for you.
In terms
I like your optimism though, Robin. I'm with you on that.
But in terms of, it's all well and good saying we're not selling this player, but if a player wants to leave because he is, one, good enough to play in the Premier League, or two, just simply has the ambition to play there, you can't then stop them players.
No, absolutely.
I suppose the worry is, and what Luke's alluding to here, is if we don't go up this season, the players that have given this season a chance in terms of trying to get promoted will say, I've had enough, I'm off.
Yeah, well, as Johnny Howson did in the summer.
But do you think that the plan and
that worked well, didn't it?
Yeah. You've had. Let's talk about this actually, because we haven't had a chance to speak to you on here since Webber came in and since Stone came in, and we've touched on Farke. How impressed or unimpressed have you been with Webber and Steve Stone? With your dealings with them and from the outside as well.
Well, in fairness, my dealings with Stuart Webber have been virtually nil because we've not really had any contact, because that's not the side of the club that we work with. We've had a lot more contact with Steve Stone. Steve Stone is a top bloke. He's really, really impressive. He's got a great attitude towards the fans. He's incredibly open. You ask him a question, you get the answer. You might not like it, but you get the answer.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Stuart Webber is the same from what I can make out. And Farker obviously took time to find his feet, but he's getting it.
I can vouch for Webber. I met Webber for the first time last week, and he was a very warm, honest bloke.
What, temperature-wise? Just
yeah, you could feel the heat. No. I think the thing with McNally is he held this aura of authority, and it wasn't very welcoming. I don't think as a fan you would naturally just go up to McNally and ask him a question. Whereas I feel like Webber has that aura about him already, where fans are more likely to go and approach Webber, and I think that's quite nice to break those boundaries down. I think the club now is doing more communicating, and I think it's ridiculously effective. I didn't think twice about going up to Webber to shake his hand. I can't tell you the conversation I had with him, but I can tell you that he is an absolutely top boy.
And where does a lot of fans have forgotten about Ed Balls? Where does he lie in this whole kind of situation since this big change?
What is he up to, Robin?
Well, it's important to remember that Ed Balls is a non-executive chairman.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a day-to-day role in the club. That was never the intention. As it happened, after David McNally left, he was putting in like 15-hour days at the club, sort of holding everything together until they'd got
he took all the stick.
a planning. Well,
why was that, Robin?
I don't know. I mean,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
At the end of the day, I think people look at him on Strictly, and
bit of politics as well, I guess.
People might not like his political views. I've always got on really well with Ed. I think he's a nice bloke. He's got the club at heart. Again, he's always been very open in his dealings with us. So yeah,
he sat two seats to the right of me in the Upper Barclay when I was in there before I joined forces with you, Jack. Ed Balls, yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah, well, their family have got a row of tickets in the Upper Barclay, and sometimes Ed will sit in there.
What was his half-time snack of choice?
I honestly don't remember.
Was it a pie?
He was definitely down there for a bevy.
Was he?
Yeah.
On 100%. That fizzy Foster's. Another question you should raise: the beer. Not great. Or it's Carling now, isn't it? It's not Foster's.
Surely they should be getting is Adams in there?
Oh, I don't know.
Local, surely. Robin, you've got to sort that out.
Sort out.
We should have some craft beer in there, really.
Oh yeah, cool.
Anyway, we don't endorse beer.
No.
We don't endorse drinking.
Or
we
gambling.
don't endorse gambling. None of that.
Connor Southwell, how did Robin get involved with the Canaries Trust, and what inspired you to get involved?
I'm not sure inspired is the
Did
right
you
word.
get forced into it?
It sort of happened.
Just the pay.
It happened by osmosis, really. Basically, what happened was that we decided to wind up the Independent Supporters Club because basically the committee felt that it no longer had a role to play.
Why was that?
Well, basically because the Independent Supporters Club had grown. Was basically a rebranding of NISA. NISA had evolved during the Robert Chase years and played a pivotal role in the fact that Chase left and that the club became what it is today. And they've done a fantastic job over the years, but that type of organisation tends to become much less relevant when everything's calm.
Yeah.
When there's trouble at the club, people want that organisation to shout for them. When everything's fine, they don't. They're not interested. So it had almost become a little bit irrelevant, I suppose. And we decided to wind it up. I was approached by Paul Bond, who was then the chairman of the Canaries Trust, to ask if I'd be interested in going on their board, which I did. To be honest, when I first joined, I was sort of, I'm not sure this is really for me, because it was, as I was describing earlier, a little bit of a sort of monthly, social meeting group. But over the next couple of years, the structure of the board changed quite a bit. Paul Bond gave up the chairmanship because he'd got a young family. And they asked me to take it on and gave me a fair amount of leeway to make changes. So
didn't the kind of the biggest rise in terms of quick succession of members joining come when was it Alex Neil was sacked?
Yeah,
and that proves that in times of dismay that the Canaries Trust and groups similar to other clubs do play a big part.
Yeah, I think I should make the point that I think the big difference between the Canaries Trust and NISA is that because of what we do, we're not a protest movement.
No,
we will talk to the club and we will take things up with the club, but we're not going to be marching down King Street with
not
placards.
Standing outside the Jeffrey Watling with your pitchforks. No,
no, that's right.
We want worthy out.
So we are a different animal, but actually, there's an interesting. Sorry, just picking up on the conversation we were having about Steve Stone, tying it in with what you were saying. What you're referring to is the fact that we emailed the club at the time that things were getting very, very fraught amongst the
with Alex Neil
about Alex Neil, and basically, I mean, what we said to the club was, look, things are getting quite tense out here. If you are going to stick with him, perhaps you should come out and.
I'm protesting. That's what you said.
No, perhaps you should come out and explain your rationale, because
I remember saying at the time, yeah.
And ironically, I think about 5 days later he went on, and it had nothing to do with the email, but. I think people realised that we were actually prepared to take up sort of big issues on their part. But picking up on
social media, Robin, I think I remember that actually. It was an open letter, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we never published the whole email because that would have been wrong. Because it was it would have implicated people at the club that we'd sent it to. But we did put out the gist. I did actually send the original to Mick Dennis because he'd written an article in My Football Writers sort of slating us for grandstanding and willy waving, I think was the expression that was
it's
used.
a great headline. That's going to get clicks.
So I thought I ought to let him see the email, as he hadn't actually seen it before he wrote the article. But there we go. But no, Steve Stone. I ran into Steve Stone. They'd sacked Alex Neil on the Friday. We'd sent the email the previous week, and I ran into him at the back of the South Stand.
Actually ran into him, or?
Yeah, literally before the game, and I thought, this could be interesting. And I just walked up to him and said, "Hi, Steve. Are we still speaking?" And we had a 20-minute chat, and he was absolutely lovely. So.
And we've never looked back since.
Well, no.
James Mackay, who
now we're married.
Which loaned-in keeper was better, Fraser Forster or Angus Gunn? And Chris, don't be biased because Gunn is from here and good mates.
I think when Angus has played the amount of games as Fraser Forster had, then we can make a fair observation and answer that question.
Why are you sitting on the fence so much?
Because he told me not to be biased. All right then, Angus is miles better, and he'll play for him. No. I know, honestly, Fraser Forster for me, and I literally do not care what people think about his answer, is a better goalkeeper than John Ruddy. I would have literally given my arm and my leg for Fraser Forster to have signed for this football club rather than sending him off on his merry way back to Newcastle or Celtic or wherever he was. Newcastle?
He was at Newcastle. Newcastle. Time, yeah.
Absolute fantastic shot stopper, and for me better than Ruddy. However, I think give Angus the time of day. Give Angus again. Look, if we go up, hopefully Angus can sign for a second season on loan, perhaps, and then you can actually fairly answer that question. To be honest with you, I do think at the moment it's hard. It's hard to say. I'm not going to answer that question.
What do you think, Robin?
What was the question?
Fraser Forster or Angus Gunn? Who's better?
Fraser was in League One, right, as well.
So
surely Angus is playing at a higher level.
I'd have to say, at the moment, Fraser Forster is a better goalkeeper than Angus Gunn, simply on the basis of experience. Could Angus Gunn be a better goalkeeper than Fraser Forster? Yeah, he certainly could.
I know. I think this is at the time of him signing, Robin. So Fraser Forster was actually quite young at that point, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was very much an unknown quantity.
Exactly.
None of us knew anything much about him, and then he came
I think
in
they're
and
actually genuinely pretty level pegging. I really do think that.
Good. Let's end it with Tom Cash, who asks, with the Lower Barclay the only real noisy section of the ground, how do we increase atmosphere in Carrow? Now, this is an interesting one because there's been a lot of movement from you guys, and along come Norwich have been doing a lot, and Barclay and Project, and everyone.
Yeah.
But
everyone
it's
apart from
still...
us, Jack.
Yeah, everyone apart from us. We do always come home with sore throats, though.
Yeah, of course.
Carrow. It still feels a bit flat inside of Carrow Road.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's a very, very difficult one. There are lots of conversations going on with the club at the moment involving various fan groups, as you say, ourselves, Forces to Canaries, Barclay and Projects, and so on, along came Norwich. And it's going to be a bit of a slow process.
Why?
Why
does it have to be? Surely it wouldn't be difficult to give everyone a blooming flag and, whatever they need.
Well, they've all got to be checked for fire standards and what have you.
Oh, by the way, talk to me about that.
We're not getting into health.
Joking aside, though, I mean, one of the things that we have been pushing for is to get more flags in the ground, because I think that makes a huge difference. That in itself creates atmosphere. But one of the problems that you've got is you've got quite a lot of people who are season ticket holders at Carrow Road who don't want to sing, and who it's
My say that, Robin.
No, well, there you go.
I'm with you, by the way. I'm totally with you.
But I mean, my wife, who bless her, isn't really into football as such, but comes along for the atmosphere. But she will always say that she always enjoys away games more than she does home games, because there's so much more atmosphere and you're in the thick of it, and everybody's singing and what have you.
I mean, if people aren't willing to sing, I think that's a good point. I think the basics is there's a lot of people at Carrow Road who don't want to get too involved with it. So it's hard to change that, isn't it?
I think what you have to say is that if people are paying their money, they have the right to decide how much they're going to partake. However frustrating that might be to the people who want everybody to.
There was quite a famous Twitter spat between who was it? Mick Dennis and
Neil Thompson.
Yeah, on
I mean,
whether there should be a singing section in the Barclay. If it was possible to create a singing section in the Lower Barclay, I would fully endorse it. However, I agree with kind of the way that Robin's approached this already. People have paid their money and they've sat there all their lives, and please don't take this the wrong way if you're watching this and you're getting on a bit, but Norwich City is it's a very aging club. People are getting older. I don't think there's been enough initiatives to get young people in terms of, look, the offering at Arsenal is fantastic, but this is the first that we've really seen in terms of actually making an effort to get young people to actually support Norwich City. The amount of people that are 2 years, 3 years, 4 years younger than me that have in their Twitter bio Manchester United fan and Norwich City season ticket holder is absolutely tragic, and it winds me up the wall, and I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up with it, Jack. Honestly, we are such a good football club. We play in yellow and green, for God's sake. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. We pack out our ground every game. And there's got to be more. There's got to be more for young fans. And the point is that if you're going to accept the fact that you're not going to increase the capacity of the stadium, which looks highly likely given the finances. Although at one point it was a case of, if we survive one season in the Premier League, we'll build the second tier on the City stand. That's not going to happen. So therefore, we do really need to think about how we're going to improve the atmosphere. Otherwise, you're going to get probably our generation, actually, Jack. I think we're lucky that we've cottoned on to the loving of Norwich City. But there's people that are younger than you that will just go and support Arsenal. And it's absolutely tragic.
I suppose from a standpoint, and it's a very short-sighted standpoint, but if you've got 22,000 season ticket holders, you would rather adults or concessions hold them rather than kids, because it generates more revenue. Simple as that, because tickets are more expensive.
That, I mean, again, from having spoken to the club about it, I mean, that is a very relevant issue. The fact that you've got 22,000 season ticket holders, so you've got a static level of income there. So therefore, what you do with the other 5,000 tickets or whatever, is going to have a big impact on your income, isn't it?
My point is that really it's not so much about the kids. It's actually about the fact that we need to get the lively people together. I think. And I think even agree. You could start to do it at away games. Why is that not happening already? Is there a problem with that, Robin? Why can't we organise a singing section at away games to begin with?
I mean,
I think we need to. I think the atmosphere at away games hasn't been good enough of late as well.
Yeah, I think that's been down to what's happening on the pitch.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't have an issue with the people who go to away games, because I've been to away games where we've played well and everybody's been singing the heart out for 90 minutes. I don't think you have to organise anything there, because at the end of the day, people can generally move around a little bit. But
I think in the Premier League you do. Robin, because I think that you find that you do get. I mean, I'm sorry if it comes across as disrespectful, but you do get a lot of tourists. You get a lot of people that will rock up to Man City, and we both said it, Jack. In the last season we were in the Premier League, we went to Man City because of the fact there's two tiers on a lot of these bowl Premier League stadiums. I think when you're in the Premier League, definitely. But point taken, Robin. I do think that now it's okay at away games, but I do think there needs to be some sort of short-term solution for the rest of the season, especially if we need to back the boys over the line to get to the Premier League. For God's sake, the players respond to a good atmosphere. Something short term. That's all I'm asking.
In fairness to the club, I mean, the club have listened to lots of suggestions, and they've put a lot of suggestions into effect. But sometimes, whatever you do, there are
people that don't
some
like
people who are just not going to respond, and I think you just have to accept that. And the issue of putting people together, I totally agree with it in principle. But I mean, I know Mick, who is a deep thinker about the game, has made the point, that you can't forcibly move people around the stadium.
Definitely. But there needs to be but then could there be some sort of incentive for those people to move? Like, for example, why don't you give them discount on their season ticket for one season, Robin?
Yeah.
I mean, surely blankets just to sit on and a free
Bovril. Why should his mum just get the blankets? I think everyone should share the blankets around. Yeah, free Bovril blankets. You're in.
There we go. Thank you very much for watching this week's podcast. Canaries Trust links and everything you need to know is down in the description down below. Any last words from either of you two? Inspiring words to end on?
I'll say again, James Maddison.